The CCS is an acronym for the Customer Contribution Statement. Now you can think of it as the profit and loss statement for a customer. Now, although the very first C stands for customer, it does not mean the actual end consumer, which is you and me. Unless, of course, the business or the organization has the sales and the costs down at our level. For most business houses, it normally is at a much higher level. And this is where you need to understand the concept of the customer hierarchy. Now, if you take an example, an end user is actually defined as the end consumer who consumes your product or your service, who's distinct and different from the customer for a producer. So a customer could be a retailer, could be a wholesaler. The consumer goes down to his favorite Walmart. Let's just take an example of Walmart. Now this Walmart could be in one part of the city which could be considered as the customer. Hierarchy level 6. At hierarchy level 5, you would have the Walmart for the district perhaps. At level 4 would be the Walmart in the state. Level 3 would be maybe at the country level. Level 2 would be the channel, whether it is a direct sales versus a distributor, whether it's a retail sales versus out-of-home business. Now the level at which the CCS or the customer contribution statement is to be evaluated depends on the business. Now in the example that I just gave, we would assume that the trading terms would be exactly the same for all the Walmart stores. And most likely it would be a national contract that you enter into. In the case of distributors, however, different trading terms could be negotiated. So if you had pop and mom stores perhaps, you would have different trading terms negotiated with them. And depending upon the sales targets that they achieve and the trade spend we spend on them, we could have a very different customer contribution statement. Now, the CCS should ideally list all the expenses that can directly be attributable to the customer level. So, it does not really make sense to include allocated fixed costs or expenses that are just spread with a peanut butter approach, and that would not help in making an intelligent distinction on whether the channel or the customer is actually profitable for the business or not. Now, normally, for comparison purposes, we also tend to add some statistics like the number of people who are serving, number of freezers for instance, or the number of trade assets that we have got, or the number of outlets, so that these can also be used as a means of comparison between two different customers, or two different distributors, or two different wholesalers for that matter. The customer contribution statement should also be able to answer questions on whether the customer or the channel in question is actually making money, or if it is a profitable one compared to another like basis. Please do remember, it is not the entire profit and loss statement in a true respect, as it does not include all the allocated fixed expenses. Those are ignored. However, the report is still meaningful because it tells us immediately if we are making or losing more by servicing a particular customer or a particular channel. Because you need to know where to place your focus on, especially in a crowded marketplace. A customer contribution statement may include the gross proceeds of sales, and from it you subtract the distribution allowances that you give to the trade, any trade spend that you have with them, listing fees, any non-performance trade expenses that you give them, and any bad good allowances that you give as part of the trading terms with your distributor. These are all deducted to arrive at your net. From that, you deduct your cost of goods sold, the variable distribution expense to arrive at the marginal contribution at the customer level. This is very important because it takes care of all the variable costs. Now, to arrive at the actual contribution, other sales related expenses are also deducted, but remember, mind you, as long as they can be specific to the customer. For example, you could think about adding or including some marketing expenses that are specific to a customer, or management and other general expenses that are specific to a customer if you need to service them extra. Any promotion costs that can be directly attributed to the products that a customer is selling. And finally, deducting any bad debts that they owe. Now, the contribution is measured as a percentage of the sales so that they can be compared on a like-per-like basis. So, in summary, a customer contribution statement is not exactly the same as a profit and loss statement at a customer level, but is still a very important statement that can help you focus on which customer and which channel to service and which one of them is actually more profitable for you to continue your business with.